Welcome everybody to the Monday, December 16th, 2024 Town of Conway Select Board meeting. Call the meeting to order. We're in a different venue today, so excuse the recording. So we are gonna go down the agenda to the Select Board comments. We have John, otherwise known as Jack Lucky, here to talk about the Franklin Land Trust on his property at Reed's Bridge Road. Elaine is here as well. Thank you for joining us again.
Do you want to introduce or talk a little bit about what you want to do, or I can just explain where we are in the? Okay. I guess I can start. So my name is Elaine Peteroy. I work with the Franklin Land Trust, and we have been working with Jack and Danielle for several years to conserve their 67 plus or minus acres along Reed's Bridge Road. And this is land that you've purchased over the years, and particularly this piece over here, with the intent to conserve. And so the land currently has agriculture on it, has very good prime soils, which you can see here in the green, and statewide important soils, which are the hatch marks. So good agricultural resources. It's also has all the frontage along the river, upstream of the town, and
downstream.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Downstream.
Right, downstream from the center of the town.
Upstream from the natural roots.
Right. And so for the reasons of its location, its ecological resources, it does have rare species habitat on it, mostly associated with the wetlands and the stream. The Lockheads have been working with us to put a conservation restriction over it. It's a donated restriction. The land will remain in private hands on the tax rolls. You're currently under 61.
60. Well, it's a mixture. It's different 61s, yeah.
Right. So that will not change generally when we put a conservation restriction on it. What it will do is keep it together. And except for one piece that we are allowing to be subdivided off, that will also hold the conservation restriction. The land can't be cut up into any further lots. It can be managed for forestry, for agriculture, for trails, public access if he wishes, which he's kind of got in place already. His own uses, and he can allow as he sees fit. And so the restriction, which I have a copy of here, is in the final process of being reviewed. We have an attorney that looks at it. Jack has an attorney. We have the state process, and we have met with the Conscom already. They've done a municipal certification, basically attesting to the public benefits of conserving the land. And so our next step is really finalizing this tweak of this document. And then all parties, we do ask the select board to vote to support it and sign it in order for us to move forward. And then the Secretary of Energy and Environmental Affairs signs it, and then we record it. And then it is there, hopefully for the forever. We'll transfer with the land. One of the things that Jack specifically and Danielle wanted to do is to have a little language in there that allows for addressing the floodplain area, if there's any opportunities to do any management that might help with mitigating extreme floods, whether it's encouraging it to flood and go out into the historic wetlands, or adding some woody structure, as they call it, just to help with habitat and help slow the flow of the river down. That's not a usual section in the CR, but we're wanting to start including it so that even though we're conserving it, we want to be able to proactively say these types of management items can happen still with all the permits and everything, which it might be not happen, but we would say, if you guys can do all the permits, local, state, and federal, we would be supportive of this happening.
FERCog had got a, well, FERCog, yeah, I guess the FERCog got a grant some years ago to study. There's an old oxbow where the river used to go in a big bend.
That one?
Basically.
Or is that the current?
No,
no,
right around
no.
here,
It's,
actually.
No.
Yeah, it's this wetland, it would be
Yeah.
more like.
Oh, where the
here.
beavers are now?
Yeah, where the
Okay.
beavers are, actually going around and going
You can
this
see
way.
it a little
around.
better.
Is
on
that-
Yeah.
And-
Is this the current Oxbow?
You can see
No,
it.
oh, well, that's the current bend, yeah,
Bend,
yes,
yeah.
yeah, and that's
Oh, yeah.
as it is.
Oh, yeah.
This study was done to possibly engineer changing the course of the river back to where it was, because straight rivers tend to really scour, and in flood situations, they run too fast and do a lot of damage downstream. So this would be a way of slowing it down. And also making it a little bit more scenic, better for the fish. There's a whole bunch of reasons. But it does mean moving the river into a wetland. And so the state got into it, the wetland people got into a tizzy. And the wetland people and the river people are both in the same subdivision of the state, but they don't talk to each other. And
No.
so now,
So they don't want water going to where it's wet.
that's right,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Said Mr. Reed of Reed's Bridge Road.
so
Good
now
to know.
the FERCog has another grant. And the other grant is to see if they can get the two parts of the state to talk to each other.
You need a grant for that, huh?
Right,
That's funny.
right.
Oh, my
Yeah.
God.
So,
So, but anyway, we've got word is written in so that were that FERCog program ever to become alive, if this restriction wouldn't stop it,
Okay.
would not get in the way. The other really important thing that the select board needs to know is that the fire department has been talking about for something, there's a landing that they use for the pump truck.
Yeah.
They pump water, but they have not, it's getting shallower and shallower, and
Really
it's harder
shallow
and
there.
harder to pump, and they would
Yes.
like to put in a dry hydrant in
Yes.
that location. And so there's wording in this restriction that specifically allows for a dry hydrant.
Does your property right there abut the Bay property that the town now owns?
Yes,
Okay.
it does, and I could get out the latest survey. It's, what's rather interesting is because this goes back to the old days of mills. There are sections of the river where our deed is not to the near bank, but to the far bank.
right,
Interesting.
yes.
And that
Very
is
interesting.
sort of
Which
weird.
changes, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, so there's two properties across from us, the Bay property and the
The Waldo.
Waldo
Mhm.
property.
Where's the Bay property?
Well, it's the one right there where the trees came down, remember? We had just purchased the property, the town did. And the trees came down across it and we had to get them removed and we had to have the turtle sweeps and all of that. It was
Oh.
like, yeah, and we tried to purchase the Waldo property, but never heard
The what?
back.
Waldo.
Waldo, Judith Waldo.
There's another Waldo?
Yes, yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes,
Huh.
but wasn't
But
the
you're wondering.
the lowering of the floodplain on your property? I'm pretty sure we applied for an MVP grant or tried to, and they told us the permitting was gonna be impossible to do.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
very.
And that's where that stalled. The last I heard was that they weren't, and part of it was because they wanted to do a chop and drop of trees.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And they didn't, it was like, it's a nature-based solution, but you can't do that.
Right.
So I think
Yeah.
all of those sorts of what you can and can't do is likely to change.
Yes.
Over the years,
Mhm.
as particularly with respect to rivers, I think. Thinking hard about rivers is pretty new. It's a new science, and wetlands has been around for a long time. People have been trying to conserve and protect them. But thinking about the fact that all these small streams were straightened in the old days and really would be more natural if they were curved, meandering around. That's a relative, 30, 40 years, something like that, whereas wetlands goes back probably 80 years.
Yeah,
I know you're not gonna wanna answer this, but why would there be any pushback to wanting to put land in conservation?
Because it could lower the tax base and it limits any further development
Yeah,
unless the landowner has kept out a house lot or two,
right.
which a lot of landowners do, and we encourage that. Like, do you have kids? Do you just need that extra income to keep out a nice side 5-acre parcel
Yeah.
or a few just A&R lots? So we try to really balance that,
Yeah.
just because we're all, community members, and many of us are landowners, and but yes, it's really the permanence of it.
Mhm.
In this instance, it's already in chapter.
Mhm.
So it's already a lower base. There's public access right now.
But
That's
it could be taken out of chapter.
Right.
And there are some nice house lots that could be developed
well,
there.
right now before we do this.
Yeah,
Yeah, so this is to prevent that from happening.
Right.
And short term, that might increase the tax base.
Mhm.
Long term, most of the studies show that it ends up being sold to young families with lots of kids.
Mhm.
The kids go to school, the school rates go up. There's a very interesting study was done in the town of Lincoln and Sudbury, outside of Boston.
Mhm.
Lincoln conserved tons of land. Sudbury did not. Sudbury developed. Lincoln is now rolling in money and doing very well.
Super
And
prime
Sudbury
real
is just desperate because it's full of apartment houses and tons of kids that go to school,
Yeah.
and they're often the kids that are the most expensive to educate because they've got all sorts of problems. And so it's but there is this big argument is, do you develop, do you not develop? And so this is on the side of don't develop.
Yeah, and I think our town is one where, the biggest things we have here to bring people in are the school, and that we have so much
Open space.
conserved land,
Yes.
so.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I figured the answer
It
was.
really is a balance.
Right.
It's a balance. I look at like there's agricultural resources on here, and granted, the most prime resources are the ones that are prone to the flooding, but even the pasture and, the land up along Reed's Bridge Road is still agriculture. It could still grow food. And yes, the decision to, you didn't take house lots out, you're conserving this, but there's, many landowners that do, but that is generally, kind of the real pushback.
Right, and a lot of this is along a river, and we've seen, obviously, in the last few years, that
Yeah.
building by a river is not
Yes.
a good decision.
That's right.
Right.
That is certainly true.
Exactly.
Now, there's one thing that's been left out that I should explain too. There is this cutout on the north end of the field, which we would like to sell to our neighbor up the road who has horses and would like to be able to graze horses on that piece of pasture.
Yeah.
So there's that cutout.
Yeah.
But there's another cutout, and that's the barn.
Right.
And we deliberately made the cutout for the barns
I noticed
too
that, yeah.
small
Mhm.
to be legally a house lot in
Mhm.
Conway.
Right.
Mhm.
The reason we cut it out is the current state laws about conservation land are very restrictive on solar.
Mhm.
And I've got solar panels on the barn. I'm planning to put more solar panels on the barn.
Mhm.
And
Jack's been a pioneer in solar.
so that would be negated. If the barn were in the conservation restriction, which originally we planned it to be, with current conservation laws, I would be stuck with it. In fact, I'd probably have to rip the solar off. the
Oh my
barn.
God.
No, you wouldn't have to rip it off the barn. It was
Well,
just,
The wording is that I can only make as much as I'm using on site, and I'm not using any on site. I'm putting it back into the
so
grid.
it's not a matter of ripping it off. It is really just a balance of having enough solar for your use,
Mhm.
but not to what, Jack and Danielle are donating this conservation restriction, meaning they're taking federal tax benefits. You can't then go and have a commercial entity
Mhm.
on that then is a business after you have gotten a tax benefit. So they like to try and balance the language so you can make enough energy to use it on the property,
Mhm.
whether your house or your barn area, because you have the lights on and maybe you're processing something,
Mhm.
but not enough that you are just putting solar on there to sell to the grid. So that's really, so by Jack,
That's their logic, but the
Yeah.
wording actually is worse than that, because what I wanted to do is. We don't have enough solar at the house to supply the house. And so I put it into the grid, but I get credits that I
Mhm.
use up at the house.
Right.
And I wouldn't be able to do that.
and this was a cleaner way to do it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not buildable, but I mean, that lot can now go with the house. It can stay with the land, it can be, but the land trust have nothing to do with its oversight. And so this is the lot that could conceivably be owned by another person.
Mhm.
And so, but the conservation restriction will carry along with it.
Mhm.
So
It's a super cool barn, by the way, if you've seen it.
yes,
Yes, a fair number of people in town use it for hay. so
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's-
Yeah.
Can I
You
ask
say-
a question about the flood insurance rate maps that are just being changed?
Oh.
Does that affect any of, because ours haven't been updated since 1980.
I know, the floodplain maps, yeah.
Yeah.
It does not affect this in any way.
No, I can see.
Yeah, it doesn't,
All the building
Yeah.
structures are pretty high up.
I haven't looked at the newest maps to
Yeah.
see, I haven't got a list now of everybody who's in it. I don't know how vastly it's changing
Yeah.
from.
it will be interesting.
Yeah.
Right, what used to be the 100-year floodplain might not be anymore.
Yeah.
This restriction does not preclude any local, state, or federal laws. It doesn't preclude people from getting a building permit to do something. If Jack wants to put in solar all over the barn area, he still has to go through whatever he has to go through. This restriction does not change that. Those things are still, they come first in line.
Mhm.
We just say you could do these things so long as you're following all of these other things that might be impacted, so.
But apart from these parcels that have already been carved out, it can't be further subdivided.
Can't be further
Right.
subdivided,
Right,
yeah,
this is the schematics that have been signed out by the planning.
Yeah.
Commission in town.
Mhm.
And registered in the deeds office.
so it's basically that survey that's recorded, and then the barn lot survey that's recorded, so the state and the attorneys are just kind of looking over this final tweaky, very small changes in here, but it always just takes a little while. So we'll probably be coming back to you hopefully early January to ask you for a vote and then signing
Sure.
of this document to get it recorded before the end of January. So this is probably closest to what it's gonna get. I know that I had sent a copy. This is just cleaned up a little bit. So,
I didn't know Chesbro owned land along the river there.
Yep, that was Chesbro.
That was Chesbro. Interesting.
That went over to.
Go look at his
Dr.
dining
Bay.
table anytime you want.
Right, yeah,
It's
that's
in my
how
house.
then the Bays didn't even know they owned it,
Right,
but he'd given it to them.
right, yes.
That got the little shack on it that's about to fall in or.
That's
fell
the
in?
Waldo property, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Waldos used to have a camp there. For a long time, they had a trailer there.
There's no way I'm not related. There's no way. How many Waldos do you know?
Yeah,
that's also why we do surveys and
One too
title,
many.
Yeah.
so, just to make
so
sure.
another piece of history with respect to this land, there's a sledding hill on it, which I think many of you know about.
Oh, yeah.
Years ago, long before your time, I would say probably around 75, there was they were trying to get the transfer station where they were going from the dump, which was dumping things over the bank into the swimming pool. And they had finally decided that wasn't a good idea, and so they needed a new place. And one of the proposed places was that sledding hill, because there's a fair amount of sand in that hill, and you dig it up and bury stuff there. And so that there was a town meeting held in which that was considered, and that many people stood up and said that's such an important part of Conway, you
Yeah.
must not
Yeah.
destroy it.
Oh my God, that would have been awful.
I mean, it seems like you all have been thorough and we really appreciate you putting in the provision about the dry pump for the fire department.
What do you call the hill, Jack?
Oh, the sledding hill?
The sledding hill, yeah, I know there's some suicide something named.
Either Dead Man's Hill or Suicide Hill, yeah.
Yeah,
It's steep, but
I
it's super
didn't-
fun.
I didn't really, wow, I wouldn't have thought it was that dangerous.
Adam, what do you call
no,
it?
it's not dangerous, cause it's got a wonderful.
I call it I'm too old to go down.
I think it's Dead Man's Hill most of the time. No, there's a nice long,
Right, exactly.
before you hit
That's
the
what-
river.
Yeah, that's why I said, I didn't
Yeah.
really think of it as being really bad. Like going on.
Unless you're walking up it.
Yes, well, yes. You can call it Chestnut Hill now, right? You got some chestnuts growing there,
Yes,
so.
yeah, actually, there's a remote chance that this will be a self-sustaining chestnut grove, because
There probably is.
this year we had, nuts from the chestnut trees,
That's
and
awesome.
they were not hand fertilized, it was natural,
Oh, lovely.
Wow.
natural fertilizing of the
Yeah,
chestnuts, so.
Mm.
I've got about 50 nuts to plant in the spring.
I love the new trail, the loop new,
Yeah, the nice
Loop.
loop, yeah.
yeah.
That's in case they ever do this river bend thing,
Yeah.
Mm.
then you won't be able to go the old snowmobile.
Yeah.
route.
It's a good idea. Well, the river's
And the
encroaching on it
river may
anyway.
take it out anyway, yes.
Yes.
Cabral owns that property?
No,
Okay,
That's
I say,
no, that's Ruth and Craig.
yeah.
GIS isn't always updated.
Yeah.
Are you still gonna use on the?
I think I
vote?
should.
Okay, do you
Yeah.
have any other questions, Erica?
I don't.
I mean, you guys can wait to vote when we come back with the
Well,
document,
well, we.
Oh,
can't vote
You have
today.
to, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so,
Yeah. so,
but yeah, we'll be ready.
okay, that's awesome.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, appreciate
Such a
it.
beautiful.
So that
piece.
meeting would be January 13th.
we are hoping, that's what, let's see what.
I mean, that's the next select board
Yes,
meeting in January.
I hope I have it ready to go by then.
We'd
Well,
love to
you know
that
attorneys.
sweatshirt.
But once, if you need to
That's
go
like
forward,
that too.
at least
No.
starting then is our budgets, no, I meant
No.
before the end of January,
Oh.
at least starting then they have to
It's
meet every week.
busy.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're meeting every week, so at least it's
Yeah.
every week after that.
Yeah,
We need to have sweatshirts that we sell like that.
Well,
Yeah.
they used to do that,
they did.
Festival of the Hills.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, in fact,
Yep.
it was probably 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's been around a long time.
You know, Jack was the select board member
Yeah.
for,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
did you do 2 terms?
2 terms,
2
yeah.
terms,
It
yeah.
was enough.
That was enough.
You did a service.
Joe Strugowski did how many terms?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
10 or 15.
Yeah.
And I just
Ooh,
can't
seriously?
believe.
Yeah.
he
Sometimes
was
you
on
might
and
say
on.
it's too much.
And people still like him.
Well, then it wasn't too much.
Sitting over there, that's a special person.
It really
Yeah,
is.
that's unusual to actually still like him after all that time.
Yeah, no.
But you do get voted on, so.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. Any other questions or anything else? I'll let you know as soon as possible. I'm hoping for that. But at this point, now that we passed the calendar year, it's kind of, we just want to get it done as soon as possible, but the deadline is less important, once we miss December, so. Yeah,
Great.
appreciate it.
That's
Thanks
exciting.
so much, you all. That's great.
It's a 0.
And I'm not sure that I'm happy that it's not snowing to drive home. I'm not happy that it's not snowing.
The dirt roads.
It's snowing at my house, I
Are a
know
little
that.
slick.
They are.
The dirt roads.
Yeah, my driveway was getting.
Yeah. Yeah. So, awesome. Thank you.
Blockheads Hill.
That would not be fun.
No.
All right.
Jack.
Thank you.
Say hi to Danny, please.
All right, so the super's here. What's that for? The MRA?
No, that would be me, no, from Delbar. But we can do that right at the end before you go into.
Okay.
Exactly, right.
So
Right.
wait,
Yeah.
it sounds like
Oh, okay.
No, they won't. It's just, they said to me, are you?
Oh, yeah, Okay, anyway, sorry, I had to think about that.
Take him out of his location and.
All right, we'll go to the top. Vote to approve minutes of December 2nd.
Those look good to me. I move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Warrants, went over them today. There are a lot of bills in there, but nothing out of the.
Everybody getting the year end done.
Yeah, there's one vehicle, there's the teachers, union pay, all that, so that's why it's pretty large, but, nothing under the usual, so I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve accounts payable warrant 25-14 in the amount of $711,377.83. The payroll warrant in the amount of $177,559.45. The payroll deduction warrant in the amount of $42,081.44. And finally, it was just an extension, W25-SAF-01 in the amount of $855.42.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Meetings attended by select board members. Erica.
None since our last meeting.
Union negotiations, I think, right after our last meeting.
Fun.
Oh, yeah, good time, love that all. I just think it's gonna be a lot of meetings.
Yep.
Cause this side's very far apart.
Don't believe I went to any. I think I did. Public comments, I see public on there. No unfinished business, so we'll move on to new business. Coming up on your stuff, Veronique, discussion and vote to approve Springfield, the MRF contract extension, which will be effective July 1st, 2025 through June 30th of 2030, per Article 29 of the 2019 annual.
Where does our recycling go?
Where does our recycling go? There you go.
And Jan, I mean, and Arlene Miller, who negotiated this, I worked with them for well over a decade. Discussion. And I have implicit trust in them having gotten the best possible deal for
Oh,
the
yeah.
towns.
I have nothing to say about this. Does anybody else?
No, I mean, it's,
Straightforward.
we kinda have to.
Yeah.
Shoot the 16th? 16th, yeah.
I move that we approve, the Springfield MRF contract extension effective July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2030.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we shall sign.
I thought I left something here.
The next item on new business would be the policy vote on having only 52 stickers per year, beginning on at the beginning of the new year, January 1st, 2025, and on acceptable forms of payment at the transfer station.
So just a comment, you guys did already vote to go to 52 stickers,
Yeah.
right? But I just wanted to confirm this starts January 1st because that's when you all voted that the price gets cut in half.
Mhm.
So the number of stickers gets cut in half.
Yeah.
And if I can send this into Jan and mean that it's absolutely gone down to 52, then we'll get more RDP points.
Yeah.
It absolutely has.
It absolutely has.
But, do we need to vote on the acceptable form of payment at the transfer station though? Is that still?
You can just discuss, I mean, you don't have to vote on that now, this is just something that I wanted to bring up because it's come up both because of the increase in the bulky prices and there will be more money coming in
Right.
to the transfer station. The cash register's already arrived, Adam's gonna work on programming it.
So it looked like the auditor's recommendation was that we don't accept any cash at the transfer station.
That was there, so that's another thing that you could think about is whether or not we do some kind of like a punch card or something that people had to purchase here at the town offices. So they could still write a check up at the transfer station, which happens, every week pretty much. But if you wanted to do away with cash itself, that's one of the alternatives they were recommending.
It's a pain to get to the town office.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like that would create more grief for the transfer station attendants to not be able to accept cash.
So the other thing to think about is then just that we might wanna make it a policy that if cash is still accepted, that at the end of every open day, they cash out and then they drop the money in the front door envelope. And so there's no money
That stays there.
that stays anywhere.
I mean, that should be up to the transfer station manager.
Well, yeah, I just would say, I think it's the best
I mean, we can enact that
policy.
policy, but I'm with Eric, I think we're already putting more burden on them by changing all these rules in the last 2 years.
Yeah,
I know I wanna have a checkbook on me,
Yeah, I know.
I know we've discussed this, it's one of the few things I was like, I don't know, I would rather stick with cash too, we don't want the transfer station to have to start turning people away again.
Yeah.
Do
So
any towns Venmo?
yeah, there are, well, I don't know about Venmo, but there are places like Ashfield can accept it, but they have wireless, they
Yeah,
have
the
their
issue
own,
is we just don't have
you
any
know, so that's our
connectivity
problem,
there.
we don't, yeah.
We have cell service, we don't have wireless, we don't have Wi-Fi.
We can't give them a phone and a hotspot.
Technically, you could use a phone you could tether off of a phone and use that as a hotspot, yes. You could technically do that. If we wanted to go the Venmo route,
Yeah,
or just
I guess
have,
we could see how it goes.
just have a town phone that is the purposes
The
for
transfer
Venmo.
station phone.
Right.
Yeah.
well, yeah, then the question, I guess, would be training on that as well.
Well-
You know, I don't know how difficult it is to,
It's
Easy.
it's a
Pretty simple.
QR code. I mean, we could honestly even print the QR code out, where people before they roll up, if it's big enough, they can just put their phone out and have it up
Yeah,
right
that's
away.
true. I mean, but the transfer station tenants would wanna verify that someone actually, you know, cause I could take a picture and be like, oh, paying you right now, you
Right.
know? They need to verify that they,
yeah, and that's the thing, is that how do you, just looking at a phone is not, I don't think the accountants are gonna like that either if it's not coming. It would come through as a receipt of some
Oh,
sort
yeah,
of
it's-
Yeah, it
vendor.
comes through as receipts.
I mean, yeah, if there
I'm
was
not
an,
sure what
if
it
there was
looks
an
like.
iPad with Wi-Fi that was locked up there, that, not with Wi-Fi, but with cellular reception,
Mhm.
then the attendants could just check and see immediately, but, you know.
I think it's something to keep in mind and maybe not go through yet, but I
Yeah.
think
Yeah,
it's definitely
okay.
worth
So this is Venmo.
No, I have Venmo.
It didn't sound like you did.
I don't know.
No, I have it, but I've never used it with the QR code
Grandparents,
kind
you
of
know.
thing, you know, it's always been,
Picture.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh
You
my
never
God.
know.
The number of
It's
people that
town.
I walked through
No, I pay
Venmo
my
when I
kids
was
all the time.
when I was manning the merchandise table for the festival,
Yeah.
I did a lot of Venmo hand holding.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, so that's what I would
Yeah.
say too, is like cash, Venmo. I think we should allow all forms if they have them, cash, Venmo, check.
Yeah.
well, we could look into doing Venmo, and then if it works well, you could maybe reconsider.
Yeah.
Not doing cash.
Yeah.
Just cause the accountant, the treasurer, and the auditors would
Or
prefer
we do
no
cash for a certain time period, and then people will know, hey, going forward, we're gonna be doing
Yeah, once we
Venmo.
phase out.
Well, that's what I mean, so
Yeah.
if you started with Venmo now, and
Yeah.
got people use, everybody use. Doing away with cash.
I think we would just need to have a dedicated device for the transfer stations
Yeah.
to be able to verify transactions.
Right.
Can Jan let us know if any towns do Venmo? I mean,
I can certainly ask
and
her.
then just get from them some advice.
Parameters.
Yeah. Sure. Great, thank you.
I can't believe how much room is in this room.
I think we gotta table the next
It's
one,
still
right?
shocking.
Yes, the next one's tabled, but did you
Okay.
guys, okay, so basically, as far as you're concerned, you'd already voted 52, so we.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Do you need us to vote again?
No.
Okay. Okay, we're tabling the next one, about the police department. So moving on, discuss and update town priorities list from the FERCog, which I have in front of me, and I'll just name them off. Number one on here, it's very surprising, but was the community leach field. Remember that? 2 was regionalized emergency services. Kind of, before you were brought on, we talked about that quite a bit, especially with South Deerfield and the EMS down there. It just didn't make sense. to do that at the time. It still doesn't make sense now, I don't think. 3, which I believe is huge, is senior housing. And 4 was the community master plan, which last was updated 2013.
Who did the master plan in 2013? Was that, did we work with like
It
an
was-
outside agency or was it?
It was, I think it was done a little bit through FERPAG, but if memory serves, it was Sue Bridge who actually wrote it. But all the different departments got, you know, and we talked with planning a couple years ago about it, but you know, to be honest, we have the hazard mitigation plan, the huge open space plan, and the master plan's really more about economic development and that kind of thing, and they're, you know, there wasn't much update for that, to be honest with
Right.
you, you know.
I mean,
So-
I personally don't see the use. I get what they were going at with the leach field, the community leach field. I don't see the real use in it outside of business purposes.
Yeah.
And how many businesses do we have along Main Street right there outside of the inn? Maybe what's going to happen next door, maybe.
Yeah.
And then maybe this office at some point in time, maybe. But that's a big undertaking. I don't know, what do you two think?
I mean, that was like, I don't know, I feel like we spent a lot of time investigating.
Yeah, that
and
was
brainstorming.
that was
and-
Joe's project,
But it was
right?
Joe's, yeah, it was
Yeah.
Joe's baby, and it's not, I mean, I don't know, I mean, maybe it's time to bump it down.
They
Oh,
applied to Mass Works at least twice, maybe 3 times for that project, and we got sort of chicken and egg because we were told you can't get the money for it unless you have the business in town that wants it. And we're like, we can't get the business in town unless we
Yeah,
have
exactly.
it. So that's where that stood.
And again, regionalized emergency services in my mind is like not ideal for Conway. It wouldn't benefit us at all.
Jenna's been pretty clear about that.
Yeah.
It's not.
Senior housing, it's something I've been looking into since getting onto the select board. It is complicated as can be. I think it still should be a huge priority, especially given,
Like over 55.
yeah, especially given the demographics, the
Oh, I
age
totally
demographics
agree.
of our town. Master plan would be great. Obviously, water management is probably the highest on the list, given what's happened.
How, as, I can't remember, I've reviewed the master plan in the past, but how outdated is it now? Well, I mean, I know it's 11 years, but is it not relevant now, what they did then, or is it just need tweaking?
I think it needs quite a bit of
Yeah.
updating. And honestly, the open space plan that was done covers so much.
Yeah.
It was really, you know, intensive and in depth,
Yeah.
and that goes through 2030, 2028. I can't remember. I mean, master plan's like, you know, pretty small.
Mm-hmm.
We have retention issues. Not just retention, in almost the opposite form, right? People that are staying on positions longer than they probably should because we don't have anybody else to replace. And I don't know how to address that. I mean, that's just nationwide in small towns.
Mm-hmm. It is.
But recruitment is a problem. And that's why I did want to get select board members from other towns together. I know we have FERCog, but I think it would be best for us to get with other towns and find ways where we can figure out how to share resources if possible, and what we need to do to make that happen. We all have to be on the same insurance plan as far as I know, right?
You mean with the same, spread?
Municipalities, yeah.
Yeah.
Just off the top of my head, those are some things I'm
Yeah.
thinking of.
Yeah, senior housing would be amazing.
Yeah.
Expensive.
Yeah, senior housing,
I I still don't understand with senior housing when they were looking at the South Meadow, why they didn't factor in not having to build up but putting parking underneath. And you know what I mean? Because what I read in the proposal is that it would cost so much money excavating and building up, and it's like, why don't you create the steel structure and have parking underneath and build on top of it?
Right.
I don't know. Again, that would be a lot of money, and you'd have to get an investor, an outside source that would be willing to build it. But I don't know any other location we could potentially look in near center of town, where we could have senior housing outside of what's already been used. That old school would have been awesome, but
So we got that triangle lot right there at the bottom of the old grammar school. It's been on the market for a year now. It's not that big, like where Elm and.
A maple.
Yeah.
that's
That-
that's the word with water issues.
Oh,
I think that's why it's not selling, because I know like when I walk past it and it rains a lot, it's like half that thing's underwater.
That would be why.
Jet skis for all the.
Yeah. So what? I'm sorry. What do we need to offer here?
Just they're asking for an update on what the select board's priorities are going forward to look into. So those were the last four. Sounds like senior housing
Senior
is rising
housing.
to the
Yeah,
top.
I would,
Yeah.
I mean, I think I would strike the community leach field. I feel like that's been,
Or at least put it at the bottom.
investigated that.
Yeah,
In the EMSs.
the EMS is out too.
Yeah.
So senior housing, community master plan.
Climate resilience.
But there
Climate
might be
resilience,
many other things that
Yeah.
have risen to the top since then. So if, dealing with flood mitigation is now, a major concern, or resilience, that kind of thing.
recruitment,
Yeah, succession planning.
succession planning. There you go.
Okay.
Recruitment / succession.
All right, do you want me to write some down on there?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. All right, so number one, senior housing. Okay. Succession planning, is that number two, you think?
Community involvement in committees, just that to be able to.
Oh, recruitment?
Yeah,
Recruitment
recruitment and, yeah.
/ yeah.
And then what was the third?
Water management is about three.
Oh, do you want like climate resilience?
Resilience,
yeah.
Climate
Resilience,
resilience, okay.
And the community plan, I get, but that's so broad. And when you have something that broad, people can tend to get overwhelmed, and then nothing's looked at.
Yeah.
Right. So I think those would be good enough.
Great. Okay, perfect, thank you.
Any other discussion on that? Okay, we'll move on to vote and sign Jared Campbell, special municipal employee disclosure.
There's that.
Yes. So, Jared is on the school committee and, is coaching a team for a pittance of a stipend, but he, had to disclose it.
Yeah.
And, so that's what this is about. So he
Thanks for
Filled
being
out.
legal, Jared.
Yeah.
filled out the appropriate form and,
Yeah, I think just Chris.
just for assessment.
Well, actually, even any of you.
Okay.
Okay, he was willing to be here, but I told him he didn't have to come in for that. He could manage it.
I'll make a motion to sign the special municipal employee disclosure for Jared Campbell.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Identified above. I'm gonna write what our board is because none of it's identified above.
Oh, it doesn't say select board in there, or board of
It's-
selectmen?
Oh, there it is, Board of
It says it-
Selectmen.
yeah,
There we
it says
go.
it there
X.
somewhere. You can just put your name and I can fill the rest of it.
Got it.
On that check.
Moving on, vote and
Only important one.
How many are there?
It's a Conway Inn
It's the
for
same
alcohol
thing.
and
Yeah.
food. It's
Baker's.
Baker's Store.
We did one for bites like emergency already, right? Didn't we? Or was
I saw him, by the way.
For
Couple weeks
selling
ago.
gas.
Yeah.
It's, yep. Who's James Constigan? J&J Auto Sales, Skinny Road. For auto sales. And then antiques, mags. And Russell French for selling second, buy and sell used vehicles. Those are the ones we have to approve.
Okay,
I move to approve town business licenses.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, all of us have to
Alright.
sign them?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll tell Barb she was voted out.
Shut me down.
Good luck getting a drink tonight.
Yeah. Please don't, she's out of oil, it's not a busy
I still need to
weekend.
sign.
Sorry, just keeping these.
Might as well keep going around and come back to me.
Oh, okay, all right.
Thank you.
You missed one, Chris.
I did?
Not both of these. Up top.
Oh. I didn't see that.
Ron's still there?
Yep.
Yep.
Quiet. Okay, last item on new business, discuss, vote, and sign extension documents from MEMA for Delbar Ave pre-hazard mitigation grant.
Right, so basically they gave us another extension. Ron, do you wanna? I can't see you. So they're making us fill out another one of these, what are they here? Contractor authorized signatory listing or CASL. I put myself down as one of the people only because I'm on the standard contract form already that they sent in. So basically, it's, I assume you and me, if you wanna add Ron, if you if you think we need somebody else, but basically we just have to say
We want to continue it.
that, oh, absolutely, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That, it's just telling them who's authorized to sign it, and then one of us needs to sign the actual contract and send it back to her for the extension. So,
So what's I have a sign here?
no, well, it's on that line, so I would be signing here, or you would be signing here. Since they
Oh,
put
got
my
it.
name up here, sorry,
Got
it
it.
should have been on the other side,
Yep,
that says contractor,
okay. Sure.
or Commonwealth rather. So,
So it's up to you. If you wanna sign it, you can sign it. Doesn't matter to me. It's just since they stuck my name on it already.
Will it confuse them if there's a different name?
Nope, because they're gonna get the thing right there that says that he's the authorized signatory,
Okay.
so that's
I'll
why
send
it's,
it.
there you go.
And this extension is for how long?
Till March of 20.
07? Did they go that far?
Wait a minute, what are we, no, 26.
26, yeah.
So another year and a half.
I'm already pushing ahead.
Yeah.
Too much stuff going on.
cwaldo@conway.gov, right? I think that's what it is.
ConwayMA.gov. I think it's Seawaldo, yeah.
It's really Crystal, mine's.
Sorry, I just have to check because I always forget.
Whichever.
Right? It's like cwaldo@conway.gov. Okay. And then before I sign, we just need to vote.
I move that we vote to sign the extension documents from EMA for the Delaware Avenue pre-hazard mitigation grants.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And one more before I do this. I also sign down here, right?
Yes,
Okay.
right, because you're signing that we're authorized to.
Right.
I mean, I don't know who else it would be. You're the CEO, so if you were. That one's for the Commonwealth, isn't it?
Yes.
Recording stopped.
Nobody was there, so we don't need that anymore.
Oh, yeah, that will.
You didn't need that anymore, right? Because you've been recording.
Yeah, keep going, I'll talk to you later.
Okay. Do you want me to turn it back on?
No,
No, okay. So, thank you.
And items not anticipated 48 hours in advance. None. On to TA updates.
Okay. All right, so I think most of this you already know. Janamine did do our annual transfer station inspection. She kind of snuck in there one day and I didn't know she had done it, so that's good because that means that we're
That's just
done anonymously. But repaving, of course, getting that done is still a big priority for us to get finished. So, and there was the money allocated from town meeting, a couple town meetings ago. So we're gonna be working on that this spring. And then the cash register, as I told you, is already here. And I have an intake form if you want to look at. This is for when the transfer station attendants, when people drive up, it's like a sheet for them to mark everything that's coming in so that they can show the resident this is what you're being charged for. And then they go put it in the cash register, rip off the receipt, and hand it to them for whatever has come in.
What's a CFC?
Oh, sorry, chlorofluorocarbons. So it's, anything that basically has to be evacuated of those freon gases is, So we'll get that up there in the next week or so, however long it takes us to do the.
These are very reasonable prices.
So,
Yeah.
honestly, they are. And not much has been changed in so long. So it's still going to be a shock because it's new, So I was going to actually post, not this, but the price list from before that you all voted on and put it in currents for this for January 1st, just so, I mean, it's posted on the website and they have a handout that they've been handing out to everybody that has the price list with the definition of C&D on the front, and on the back it has the thing Jan did with the trucks. And then that I made a big poster of so that they can put in their A-frame so people can see it like right up front. But I wanted to put it in current so that everybody, knows
Oh, yeah.
it starts January 1st.
And I installed the camera, but I'm already having issues with it, so I have to go back Wednesday.
On the coldest day so far this year.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
All right. So let's see. Oh, I did want to request or get your approval for. It had occurred to me. I've seen some other town administrator updates, and a lot of them include an update from all the different department heads that says, this is what's happened this week in my department. And so what I was going to do with your approval was ask all the department heads to just, every week, every time I'm doing these updates, just say, send me anything you've got, your update, and we'll put them all together. And then that update, I'll then email back out to all the department heads so everybody can see what everybody's doing.
Too, and then,
Yeah,
Well-
that could make it easier
Yeah.
to write an annual report.
right, cause.
Right,
yeah.
exactly, because that's what I do. I go right to my TA updates for my annual report. So, it's a pain to get in the habit of doing it, but I
Yeah.
think it'll help with just
Oh,
knowing
yeah.
what everybody's up to.
Yeah, well, that's good for us to know whatever.
Exactly, yeah, for all of
Yep.
us. So, okay, great. So I will do that. Roof is going up right now on the addition. It might be done. I saw them working today on the. Yeah, it's amazing how much they've done.
The middle's not on, but
Right, the metal's not. Yeah, but all the bracing and everything is up, right? Yeah.
That's amazing.
Fire and ice, everything.
Yeah, and then so for public buildings, and then the committee's going to meet in January. We're going to discuss uses of town hall, town offices, storage ideas, and then also next steps for town hall, getting it prepped. Sustainability did meet, and they worked on looked over the huge spreadsheet and all the information that RTE gave us. So we'll be kind of working. They're going to do a presentation for us
Great.
soon.
I'm glad they found as many lights as we thought were out there.
Well, and it's funny because there were some that weren't and some that were,
Mhm,
so
yeah.
they had to, but it was still ended up being about the same number of lights. And we had heard that maybe Green Communities wasn't going to be supporting doing the street lights anymore, but then I just heard again from one of the members that no, we think we can apply April 2nd for that.
Oh,
So
Okay.
yeah, so that's very nice. And I had put in here that we had received 2 applications for the seniors and veterans tax work off. We got one more, but it went into Lori's box and she wasn't in on Friday, so I just got it today. So we have 3. I know so far that 2 of the 3 are actually excited to work on the guide to Conway.
Mhm.
So that'll be I'll be thrilled to get that going. So I will contact this 3rd person and see if they want to work on that. And then the question is, do you want to consider leaving, the application period open until the end of January? Because we still have 2 more slots.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
So, okay. So I could put that in the currents as well and say, if you haven't applied, you have until,
Right.
Mhm.
Only too
January.
late.
Yeah, 2 slots
Exciting.
left. Yep. And that's pretty much it.
Great.
Awesome.
So,
Great. Thank you, Veronique.
thank you.
No mail, no announcements. Our next meeting is December 30th. Does anyone have anything else to add?
No.
Okay, so I will vote to adjourn the meeting for the purposes of going into executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Have to do roll call or no?
On executive session, we do.
Right, but you do want to say that you're not coming back into open session.
After the.
Right, I'm
Right.
sorry. Yeah, we will not be going back into open session after executive session.
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.